What's up, world? Welcome to episode 9 of the Last Comic Book Standing podcast. I am your host with the most, the gentleman that's always wearing the Yankee hat, as you can see here. And we're 9 episodes deep, man. I really appreciate everyone that's been showing us love on Facebook, on Instagram, on our Twitter feed, and subscribing to our YouTube channel. And for those of you that have not subscribed yet, but are following us on Facebook, because I know there's a couple of you out there that haven't subscribed yet to our YouTube channel, make sure you do that. It's not that difficult. Just go to YouTube, follow the link below, hit like, hit subscribe, show our brother some love, okay? There's a lot of exciting things coming up, and we can't wait to share them with you. We are officially expanding the Last Comic Book Standing podcast universe, and you guys are in for a treat. We're working on it right now, but I definitely guarantee it's going to be exciting news in the next couple of weeks, so I hope you guys stay tuned. And this week we're covering House of X number 5, baby. We are almost at the end of this series, and I can't wait to get started. Let's get right into it. Okay, so our last issue left off with a team of X-Men heading out to destroy the giant AI robot responsible for their ultimate demise on the planet and dying in the process. It was the mutant Wolverine who delivered the final blow and sent the machine straight into the sun. We saw the professor and the remaining members of the team vow to never let that happen again. No more was the closing line. And now this is where we pick back up. This is the main cover for issue 5. We see the powerful mutant god Apocalypse walking through a marsh, and we're given a quote by Professor X. Do you want to know the real difference between them and us? Until now, we were never given a chance. The issue begins with a scene on the mutant island of Krakoa, where Magneto and his daughter, Lorna, aka Polaris, are discussing humanity's evolution as a species. He's explaining to her that humans eventually went from hunters to cultivators of land, and ultimately creators of civilization, of societies, and how that's been the biggest lesson mutants have learned. That instead of running from persecution and being hunted, what if they also became more creative, intelligent, and inventive? We then see 5 mutants enter through one of the portal gates. These mutants are called the 5. Their names are Goldball, Proteus, Elixir, Ava Bell, and Hope Summers. And basically, these 5 work together to create new mutant life now. They've developed a way where Goldball provides these embryos, which are then fertilized with the mutant DNA that Professor X has collected. If you guys remember, this is why Professor X has been working on gathering and indexing the DNA of all mutants. This is what that's for. Once these eggs are fertile, the next member of the 5 speeds up their development, while the mutant named Hope Summers helps to amplify the power of the 5 to make the process successful and more efficient. Magneto explains the entire process to Lorna. He emphasizes how important the 5 are for making mutant kind whole again. We begin to see these eggs hatch, and one of them, once he emerges, we realize through the beams beginning to come out of his eyes, is Cyclops. Go back to the first issue of House of X, our very first episode, and we see this exact scene. Back then, we just didn't know what it meant yet. Lorna and Magneto continue talking, and she asks him how the whole thing works. Are they just clones? Are they really who they look like? Magneto explains to her that Professor X's helmet, called Cerebro, was thought of as just this device that helped them locate mutants anywhere in the world. But he reveals that Professor can also use it to basically copy the soul of a mutant, including their life, their memories, personality, and place it back into these clones. And we see Professor X do this with Cyclops and all the other mutants that died in that last issue. They're all back. Storm then summons them all outside where the mutant public awaits. Storm begins addressing the crowd by commending the 5 and their ability to cheat death as she praises them as heroes. She announces that they succeeded in bringing the X-Men team back to life and asks the crowd to see them for themselves. You hear shouts from the crowd asking if they're the real X-Men. Storm then calls them over one by one and asks them their names and to give her a sign that they are who they appear to be. And each X-Men shares something about them that only she would know. Once she's assured that they're the real deal, she shares that with the crowd. And they begin this call and response where she tells the public, hey, I know this person by name, but they're more than that. What are they? And the crowd responds, mutant! It's such an interesting scene to see her welcoming each member back to life in a sense. As this is all happening, we see Magneto speaking with the professor about how although this is a joyous occasion, he can't help but think of the millions of mutants that have died that may never get to see an opportunity to be resurrected like this. Professor X assures him that this work will continue, and since Magneto knows the power they now hold, he's aware that they've become quite unstoppable. They quickly discuss an upcoming UN vote, which Professor X is attending the following day, as we see Storm introduce the resurrected X-Men team as the heroes of Krakoa for having won the first of many major victories by destroying the Mother Sentinel. We cut to a scene in the United Nations, and we see Emma Frost, aka the White Queen. She's communicating telepathically with the professor. The UN has just voted in favor of Krakoa officially becoming a sovereign mutant nation. He tells her he didn't think the Security Council would vote in his favor, as he was told personally that a few nations were going to be voting against it. Emma hints that she played a role in influencing those members who were voting in opposition and got them to agree. Professor warns her about the dangers of that level of coercion and the price that you eventually have to pay, but nevertheless, he thanks her for her efforts. She jokes that she wants to be rewarded with gifts or by being made governor, and the professor assures her that he has something much better than that planned for her. For this final scene, we're back in Krakoa 2 days later. We see Wolverine standing in front of 3 portals, and he's asking Magneto and the professor if they really want to go through with what they're doing. They tell him yes, that what they're working on is ultimately a chance at change. We then see 3 different groups of villains enter the gates. Mr. Sinister and his team, another group called the Acolytes, and Apocalypse himself. Professor X has invited them to Krakoa for a truce. From the previous issue of Powers of X, we learned that Apocalypse saved Krakoa thousands of years ago when it was split into 2, a good side and a bad side. So as he's soaking it all in, we see Wolverine being suspicious as always, and Magneto reminding him of the terms of why they're there. They basically let him know that they're working towards a cause that is much bigger than any of their past differences or quarrels. And they ask him if he's going to play nice, because if he's going to make things difficult, he's going to have a problem. Apocalypse responds by saying that all the fighting and war they've declared against each other in the past was an attempt to have mutants realize their true potential and power, and to see them dominate the earth. And that seeing them want exactly what he intended all along makes him extremely proud. But they basically want to hear him pledge his allegiance to their cause, and he obliges. He says they all submit to all the laws of the land and will now serve the higher purpose of mutant domination as one. Professor X then declares that they should spread the word that Krakoa is for all mutants. And then he welcomes them all home. We end with a quote from Magneto which says, "If you are us, then be with us." What's next now for the sovereign mutant nation of Krakoa? And what will total mutant domination look like? What challenges are they going to face? Are they going to learn to work together and cooperate with each other? How will humanity respond? Or the military? We'll have to see what happens next in the final chapters of the House of X, Powers of X saga. Now, for an issue like this, you need a soundtrack that's as dynamic as the storyline itself. I've chosen this week's track as Take a Bow by the band Muse. If you don't know who they are, do yourself a favor and listen to their album, Black Holes and Revelations. It's a modern masterpiece and a roller coaster ride filled with a wide array of sounds, feelings, and emotions. I hope you find it fitting for this chapter and add it to your own musical collection. So what'd you guys think? It's insane, right? It's amazing. Jonathan Hickman deserves the Academy Award of comic book writing. I mean, the guy is just on the money. He's on fire. If this was NBA Jam, he is on fire. Next week is Powers of X, number 5. Then after that is House of X6, Powers of X6, and this storyline is over. And then we go into what's called Dawn of X. So we're going to be covering each of those storylines. We're going to be following these characters into these 6 separate comics and bringing you more content. We have some surprises in store. And like I said, follow us on YouTube. We're calling it The Road to 100. Our goal is to get 100 subscribers. Why is that so important on YouTube? Because once we hit 100 subscribers, I can customize our URL. So instead of sending you guys a link, that's youtube.com/50 different letters and consonants and symbols, it can just be youtube.com/thelastcomicbookstanding. How cool is that? So help a brother out. So if you guys can donate to a GoFundMe page to rewrite the last season of Game of Thrones, you can definitely head over to YouTube and hit the subscribe button. Keep following us on Facebook and Instagram. Share it with your friends. Remember, guys, this show is for the common person. It's comic books for people in a hurry. I do all the work for you. It's like the Cliff Notes of comics. So share it with your friends. Tell your buddies about it. Tell your coworkers about it. Tell your family about it. Tell your kids about it. Watch it every week. Tell your neighbors about it. Tell your local grocery cashier about it. Tell your bus driver about it, your Uber driver, your Lyft driver. Tell your teacher about it. Tell your principal about it. Share it with your girlfriend. Share it with your significant other. Share it with your guru. Share it with the mechanic who fixed your car yesterday. Share it with anyone who enjoys great storytelling. And I cannot wait to see you guys next week for episode 10. As Bill and Ted say, be excellent to each other. Take care.